Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to talk about sublimation on canvas. These canvases make an amazing gift idea and I'm going to give you a few options on how to make them. Now, if you don't have a sublimation printer, I have an old video that makes canvases with a different technique that works really well. So I'll link to that in the description below. So head there if you don't have a sublimation printer, and you can make canvases with your inkjet printer as well. But if you have a sublimation printer, you are going to love this technique. So I haven't seen this particular technique done before. I've seen sublimation on canvas a few different ways, and I didn't really like the results of those, so I came up with a method all my own. And this method uses clear dye sub HTV. It's a fairly new product on the market, and I'll link to this product below as well as everything else you'll need. So let's take a look at the supplies that we're going to use for this project. Here are the supplies you're going to need. You will need sublimation paper, sublimation ink, and a sublimation printer. I went ahead and printed several prints that I'll be using for my projects. You'll also need protective paper, heat-resistant tape, a lint roller, and of course your canvases. We're going to do this a few different ways with a few different types of canvases. You can pick your favorite from the options that I show you. A paper trimmer is definitely beneficial, as well as some scissors, and then clear dye sub HTV. I will link to everything I'm using below because this is a specialty product and you don't want to get just any clear HTV. Then if your canvases have a wood frame and you don't want to remove it, you will need something to put on the inside. I'm going to use a piece of foam as well as a pressing pillow to put on the inside, and I'll show you how to do that. You just need something heat resistant to put on the inside to hold everything up while you press it. So you will need something like this in order to get a good look to the canvas if you don't want to remove the frame, and we will do it both ways. And then you'll also, of course, need a heat press in order to press both the HTV and the sublimation print. So let's take a look at all of the options for adding sublimation to canvas. First, let's talk about adding the clear dye sub to your canvas. So this canvas is flat. If you're going to use this one, it is the easiest way to add sublimation onto canvas. The first thing I want you to do is to clean the canvas well. Any lint, debris, dirt that is on your canvas will show through. Then I measured my canvas, used my paper trimmer to trim to the exact same size as the canvas. You may want to keep it just very slightly inside the canvas, so make it just a little bit shorter so you don't get the edge of the HTV on the edge of your canvas, which could be like a rough edge. So you do want to put this with the shiny side down on the canvas. The rough feeling side or dull side should be up. And you will need to locate it, and I'm going to go ahead and hold it into place with some heat-resistant tape in a couple places because we do want this to be exactly located on our canvas. Once you have it in location, I'm just going to put a couple pieces of heat-resistant tape on the corners, wrapping them around just to make sure everything stays into place. Then once that's in place, you're ready to heat press this and get that HTV on your canvas. With the version, when we go to press, we'll need something on the inside to give us that pressure. However, when I put the foam in there, it's flush with the edge of this canvas, and I want it to really push down inside the canvas. So I'm going to add this pressing pillow that's a little bit larger as well. So that way, when the heat press presses down, you can feel all along the edge that there's something solid behind there pressing against the canvas. So this version, I'll go ahead and add the HTV to the front and get it ready for the press. This one's ready for the press. I'm going to add it to this pressing pillow before pressing down. And again, we're just going to press the HTV this time. So let's take a look at a different way to do the canvases with the frame on the inside. Cut the canvas on the outside of these staples all the way around. Then once that's cut all the way around, we'll just remove this canvas and flip it over. Once this is flipped over, this is where we're going to add our HTV and our sublimation print. And then once it's complete, we are going to flip this frame over, hot glue it back onto place, and this will be a frame for our sublimation print, and we can trim all the excess canvas away. So we'll set the frame to the side for now. You can stain or paint this at this point if you would like. Then we'll go ahead and lint roll. put our HTV into place and tape it down. Now I'm going to take each of these to the press. After you pull it out and it's still warm, you might want to just go over it with a scraper just to make sure you're getting all those areas down as well as possible. So I did this like 380 degrees for about 10 seconds, and we are going to see if it is stuck enough to get the carrier sheet off. But first, I'm going to take the tape off of all 4 corners. Then we just start in one corner, make sure it's stuck. This stuff is hard to see if it's stuck because it is clear. But once you get it started, you can kind of feel it on your canvas. And then we're just going to peel it back. Now, if it doesn't look like it's stuck in all areas, it's fine, as long as it stays on the canvas and doesn't wrinkle up, because we are going to press it again for a really long time to get our sublimation going. So it will continue to adhere and activate that adhesive on the canvas with our next press. So I do have some areas that don't look like they're stuck, but it's peeling up fine, like there's a bubble there. But I think it'll go down once I press this next time. We're ready to add our sublimation print. So now we'll just make sure everything's clean once again. It should be at this point. I'm leaving the foam on the inside, and then we're going to put our sublimation print face down onto our canvas. And I actually like to flip it over so I can check the alignment and make sure that the entire canvas is covered with my print. Now, I did trim around the edge of my print with just a pair of scissors, and you can do that or not do that. It's completely optional. So once it's located, we'll just flip it over. And then once again, we want to tape it down and make sure it doesn't move. So I like to use 4 pieces of tape for this. And then once again, for this version, we'll put it on our pressing pillow because it has that frame on the inside. And we're going to press, and this time we're going to do 380 degrees for 45 seconds to sublimate our print onto that clear dye sub HTV. Now we'll just peel the carrier sheet back from this flat canvas piece. So I did notice on the flat canvas piece, as well as the one I removed the frame from, the heat tended to bow the canvas. So what I'll probably do is after the sublimation portion, after I get it nice and hot, I'll put it under something heavy and allow it to cool. And that way, hopefully it will stay flat for the final product. So now that we've removed the carrier sheet from the HTV all the way across, it's time to add our sublimation print. We're going to add it in the same way. So you just want to lint roll, then add our sublimation print. Again, face down. And I like to flip everything over, make sure it's lined up. Now, in this case, there's plenty of room around the outside edge because I didn't trim anything that I can actually tape from the back. So I'll just add tape in all 4 corners on the back in order to hold it into place when sublimating. So now this one is ready to press. So now all that we have left is the one that we removed the frame from. I did want to note something here. So when I'm removing this tape, if it's still sticky, I can reuse the tape for the sublimation print. So you can use the same tape for the HTV as well as the sublimation print as long as it's still sticky. So in this case, I'm going to remove this tape, set it to the side, and reuse it once I add my sublimation print into place. Again, we'll need to peel back the carrier sheet from the HTV, leaving the clear dye sub HTV on our canvas. So now that the carrier sheet is removed from the clear dye sub HTV, it's time to put my sublimation print into place. Now, the positioning is less critical on this one with the frame because we're going to be covering up that outside edge with a frame at the end of this project. So I'll just kind of like wing it, put it into place over the HTV, and then once again, I'm going to use that same tape that I used to hold the HTV down, and I'm just going to use it in 4 places on the sublimation print to hold it down and make sure it doesn't move. It's ready to sublimate. When you press your sublimation prints, you will want to use protective paper on the bottom as well as over the top in order to protect your heat press. So we're starting with the flat canvas, and I went ahead and removed the tape from the corners, and now we're going to start peeling this print back. When you peel it back, don't be shocked. So when you peel it back, it will look horrible when you first peel it back. And in some places, the paper is even going to want to try to stick. This is a residue from the paper. So what I try to do is kind of lift up from all the corners, try to get as little paper as possible on here because we're going to have to remove all of this paper from the surface. So I just kind of peel it back, hopefully getting as little paper as possible, but it is ripping in this case in several areas. Then once you rip the majority of the paper off, it's time to break out a rag and some water. So we just want to get the residue that's on here from the paper off. And as you can see me rub, you can probably see everything really brighten up. The paper will just kind of curl up from the water, and you'll be left with a gorgeous print on canvas. So you just want to do this all over your print to remove all of that paper residue. So this is why I said if you leave as little as possible, it will be a bit easier. Now there is some type of residue everywhere. So in this area, it just kind of looks dull. But when I rub over it, all of that comes off. But in this area, that's like definitely paper. So you will have to rub even more to get that off. So I'll just continue rubbing, getting this paper to peel up, and then we'll take a look at our final project. Here are the results after all that paper residue is removed. Now I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to allow it to dry completely just to make sure that all that residue is gone before this is ready. So let's move on to our other projects in the meantime. Here is the version of the canvas without the frame. So I removed the frame, and I've just started in this area removing all of that residue. And as you can see, it probably didn't stick as bad to this, but it's still stuck. Now you do want to wait till your canvas completely cools before you remove your sublimation print. That might help some of the sticking, but I do still find that you will get sticking regardless. So this technique is definitely helpful for finishing off your canvas prints. You may find that your rag gets some color on it. That is just from that sublimation paper coming up. The print itself is permanent on that clear dye sub, so you don't have to worry about rubbing it off. It's just that the paper itself still has some ink left. Once again, I'm going to set this one aside to dry before we add the frame back on. So here's my one on my frame. So after seeing this one, I'm thinking maybe I had my pressure too high, which is the reason it's stuck so bad on some of these. So you might play with the pressure, but you're still going to get these small dots no matter what. But those clean up with the water technique. So we're still going to use the water on this no matter if all the paper peeled off or not. So for this last one, I'm leaving the foam on the inside to give me something to press against. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this paper residue with some water all the way around, and then we'll take a look at finishing off our projects. Here's the large flat canvas after everything is dried, and it looks amazing. So what I like about this product is that you can see the texture through the clear HTV. So it does look like a regular canvas. It's also not glossy, so you get that matte finish just like a regular canvas with this product. So it's definitely something that I love to make as a gift idea. So now let's finish that framed version. So here's that version without the frame after it's dry, and you can see it looks gorgeous. Now this is a super old photo, so I do expect it to be a little bit blurry, but that is okay with me. So I'm just going to trim this where the photo is all the way around, just with a pair of scissors. So there we have that photo. Then we have the frame and of course the staples in it. So I'm going to put this staple side down onto here. And first of all, I'm going to make sure that there's no overhang, and there is still a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this picture a little bit more. Then once I've trimmed it a little bit more and everything looks really good, flip the frame over and add hot glue to the back. So I'm just going to add hot glue to just right where the staples are or slightly inside the staples. And then we'll just put the hot glued frame onto the canvas. You just want to press that down well, and this framed canvas is ready to go. And finally, let's take a look at this assembled one that we added that foam on the inside. So first of all, I wanted to point out, I probably got my dye sub HTV a little small. If you can see that line down through there where it's lighter, this portion of the canvas doesn't have HTV on it, and this portion does. I used a plain canvas for this version. So on this version, I didn't put any HTV at all. And you can see how light the print is when you do that. This is what would happen if I didn't use any product at all. So when you use that clear dye sub HTV, you can see what a difference it makes and how much brighter it makes your canvas prints. So this is like the top #1 reason to use it for your canvas crafts. All right, so now you saw the amazing results. And we did it 3 ways, right? So with the flat canvas, the canvas with the frame on the inside, and then the canvas that we took apart and made a reverse canvas with sublimation. So all three of these techniques turned out great with the clear dye sub HTV. Now, I like this version because the finished product isn't glossy. It looks like a regular canvas because you can see the texture of the canvas coming through that clear dye sub HTV, and it makes like a really bright, vibrant print. So it looks like a canvas that you would purchase. Now, I did want to point out on the one that we left the frame on the inside, the edges are unfinished. So you can't really wrap the sublimation around the edge. So you could either leave this edge white or paint it like black, however you wanted to do that. But I did want to note that before you get started on your sublimation project. And that way, when you're picking the version you want to make, you'll make the right choice. So the other versions I've seen use like laminate sheets, which I don't like because it makes that glossy finish and it looks like a gloss image, like flat with the sublimation on top. And then the second version I've seen uses like a spray poly to get a polyester coating on the canvas, and then they press on the top. The reason I don't like that is because I haven't had a ton of luck out of spray poly coatings. I usually find that they don't work very well, leave some gaps, but this dye sub HTV makes an amazing and perfect print on my canvas without like really any effort, right? So I just press the HTV, press the sublimation on top. So I do like the clear better than I do like the Caesar product that's for sublimation because it's clear and it allows that texture of the canvas to come through, which to me makes it look like a more professional product that you can either give as gifts or to sell. So I really think these would make a great gift this holiday season, and I hope you enjoy this technique. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, please ask us in the comment section below. If you liked this video, if it helped you, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos like this every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of them. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.